Hey everybody, and welcome to the Stacks Governance Working Group meeting. Today is Thursday, September 24th, and it is just after noon EST, 9 a.m. PST, and 5 p.m. for those of us in London, which is just me. And we've got a bit of a smaller group today, so we kind of agreed that we wouldn't have any quorum for decision making or anything, but we thought it would be worth going over some short updates, and also put an idea out there to incentivize more folks to get on the next call so that we can start making some of those decisions. So I will start because I know this has been on everyone's minds on the grant proposal. I actually haven't done that much work in terms of revising or updating the written material. I think based on the last meeting that we had, there weren't a ton of changes we wanted to make. What I think does need work is the bit on the Gaia Hub inboxes proposal. And like I mentioned in Discord, I had a productive call with Jude on how to structure the project management of that particular project. Namely, we want to get an engineer from the PBC team involved to at least check in with certain teams on their progress so that whatever is produced from that particular project is something that PBC could realistically adopt. And yeah, so rather than applying this sort of bounty or like hackathon type of framework, it's a little more of Jude, I forget what you were calling it, but it's like when governments bid for projects. What was the term what was the phrase you were using?
Procurement, I
Yes,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
more like a procurement process, which I think makes a lot of sense. So I can update that in writing. What is blocking me at the moment is I've sort of put my asks from the engineering team on hold, given that this is a really busy week for testnet. I have it on my calendar to drop that in some asks, but I basically need approval from the engineering team that this is something that we can take on, and approval that someone from the engineering team can actually supervise this work, which I'm pretty confident we can get. But yeah, that ask has just been put on hold for a week or so. But it is the last thing that's sort of holding up the governance or the grant proposal. So once I get decisions and answers on that, and once Jude has some time to put the design doc together, or another engineer has some time to put the design doc together, I think we would be ready to submit. My goal is really to submit it by next week. So everyone can keep an eye out for that progress in the Discord chat. And obviously you're all welcome to plug in with feedback yourself in the doc. That's my update. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to say on the work you've been doing with the agenda and other things?
Sure. So last week, I kind of threw a comment into the last agenda that talked about making the agenda much more general and kind of taking each of the discussion items and the items that we used to list out in the agendas back to the issues. That way we can get a little more involved with them and start getting them closed out and addressed. So with that, right after this call, I am planning to submit a pull request that will have an issue template that's very generic. And the main goal is that instead of listing out all of the action items within the agenda, we'll instead just go straight to that label for the issues. And we can continue to use labels in other ways as a better way to manage the topics, but it should reduce some of the redundant work and make it much easier to create agendas in the future. As far as that goes, I don't have any blockers at this time, so I think that's it for me.
Cool, thank you. And I know Ryan, you're here to moderate a very small meeting, but if you have any updates, please feel free to share. And Jude, same goes for you.
Yeah, I can give an update just of like, we've been doing calls with different, for the grants program, just doing calls with different applicants and stuff like that and moving things forward. So it's keeping on, looking forward to seeing the one from the governance.
Not much from me. The Krypton release is imminent, so been working primarily on that. But SIP 000 is now in master with the changes recommended by the governance group and by the and by PBC surrendering its seat on the technical steering committee. So all of our documentation should now link to that.
Awesome. That's a great update.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, at the beginning of this call, we established that this would be a fairly short one since we don't have a ton of people on. The idea that we wanted to throw out is that for our next meeting, perhaps we could have something a little more social, buy everyone some coffee cards and have everyone show up with their coffee and pastries to just simulate the feeling of having an actual working group meeting. And I think that we all have been craving the more social aspect of working together. So our next meeting should be scheduled for 2 weeks from now, but I'm flexible in terms of like having it next week just because we didn't have a huge one this week.
Right.
Or we can keep it 2 weeks from now. I totally am sorry for making the mistake of not duplicating the meeting from a couple of weeks ago and only putting it on my calendar. I promise I won't do that this time around. But yeah, for the next meeting, whenever we decide to do it, either next week or the week after, let's make it a fun and social one. We'll pay for some coffee and pastries, and everyone should have a sufficient amount of time to get updated on the content we've been discussing and come prepared with their ideas. Because I know I saw a comment from Friedgar about something he wanted to raise with the governance group as well about making a specific decision on off-chain names or something. And he's not here today, so I'd like to give folks like Friedgar a chance to tune in as well.
I've made the mistake before too, Jenny, the duplicating on my own calendar thing. So I feel like
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Any final updates, everyone?
No, that's it on my side, and just thanks everyone for being here. Good to see you, Jude. Thanks for all the hard work. I've been watching and following along, and wow, we're almost to that next phase. I'm excited.
Thanks, Jude.
yay! Thanks, Jude, and everyone.
All right. See everyone later. I'll
Okay,
stop.
bye.
Bye, everyone.